How you feeling?
I'm doing super duper. How about you, bud?
Can't complain. Another
Good.
day in paradise.
Awesome.
I'm David DeGioia, DJ, videographer, photographer, and all-around wedding professional. And I'm here today with Drew Reges.
Drew Reges, that is the name. I am also a wedding professional. I'm a DJ, guitarist, singer, live sound tech, light tech, whatever's most needed. So these days, at least, for as many years prior, I usually have the client reach out to me. They'll see my website, they'll see my wedding wire or not, advertisement, or I'll preferably get a recommendation. So those are usually my best because I'm getting a recommendation from a prior client, so I kind of know what type of individual I'm working with, what style of wedding they're after. So they'll ask me to talk about, obviously if the date's available, if I've ever worked at the venue before, and obviously to talk about different levels of service, be it DJing and playing ceremony guitar, cocktail hour, and DJing. So on and so forth for their big day.
Right, you have an interesting story because you didn't get involved with companies at first. Nobody booked you. You were playing gigs and got recommended through that. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yes, for a long time I've been a professional guitarist and singer. I started getting into DJing more and more in the past decade, but what ended up happening was, I was up in Breckenridge playing routinely at a lot of the different pubs and party spots up there. And one day I happened to be there for a happy hour and I heard two individuals talking about needing wedding musicians. So I overheard this and introduced myself, and they brought me on for one wedding. That turned into two, that turned into four, and it's been about 10 years now.
What advice would you give to people that are still thinking about reaching out to their musician?
Say hi to them. Reach out, see if they're available. The best thing I've learned to do with my clients is I'll sit down for a consultation with them. I'll invite them out for a happy hour or coffee, and we just talk about what their vision is for the day. That's a big piece of what I feel makes me successful in what I do, is meeting with the clients and making sure I'm the right fit. I think that personality really matters a lot. There's a lot of great DJs out there who aren't going to play the right music, are going to have a different approach to the day. So for me to meet the clients and understand, what their personality types are, what their vision is for the day, what the demographic is, how many family and friends are coming, what the age groups are, that gives me a good feel about what I'm getting into and if I'm the best fit.
So for the day of, what advice would you give to engaged couples?
Same advice I tell them every single time is don't stress. If we've done our job right, everybody involved, any coordinator, the venue, the caterers, the photographers, videographers, and obviously the musicians and the officiants and so forth. If we've done our job right, the day of the wedding will actually be the easiest of this entire process, because by then we've planned out all the details, we've established our timeline, we've been on site that day and perhaps days prior, setting up sound and lighting where possible, so that when it's go time, it's smooth sailing. We have all of our speakers in the right place, we have mics on officiants, we have scripts, we have introductions planned out, music choices, everything's good to go. So usually the wedding day is probably the easiest part of the whole process.
Right, yeah, I always say the hardest part of my job is done by the time everything's set up and the guests are coming in.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect way to deliver that, because if we did it right, it should be stress-free. Should be. A little bit of stress, but not too much.
Right, and I definitely say a large part of that stress relief comes from working with the right people who are diligent and attention detailed. Now, I've done a handful of weddings where there are coordinators who will help out, and there are a handful of weddings when it's largely on me to keep everything on time. What do you have to say about that?
I think that's 100% accurate. I talk to my clients and I'll tell them that if you don't have a day of coordinator hired, then that becomes my job. And that's not to slight the lack of one, it's just that's the truth. Like, I'm the point person. I'm going to be handling the introductions, coordinating with the photographers and videographers to make sure that we have all of our key personnel and chief deliverables in place. If I can get into my logistical talk right there.
Yeah.
Having a great wedding coordinator is clutch, because they can help me release tables for a buffet style dinner. They can gather up the bridal party for the grand entrance. It's an extra set of hands and boots on the ground. So a good wedding coordinator, it may not seem like it from a guest perspective, because it should be going smoothly regardless, but from my perspective, it gives me a lot more breathing room to make sure the event is as successful as possible.
Yeah, definitely momentum and flow is important in any event. I know that some of the bigger budget weddings call for more than one person on the ground as far as DJs go. I know you work with an assistant at times. Tell me a little bit about it.
Because I often combine guitar and DJ services together, if somebody brings me on to perform a ceremony with some classical guitar and then sing it later in the cocktail hour and then MC and DJ the rest of the night, that's a big event. That involves getting there as early as possible to uplight the room, roll out any other custom lighting configurations we have, set up multiple professional pro audio setups, meet with the officiant, make sure they get all mic'd up, talk to the videographers and coordinators and photographers, make sure that there's a lot of moving parts. And with me performing the entire time, I don't have the breathing room, the latitude I need to maybe tweak anything or coordinate what I need to get dialed in the day of. So I'll bring on an assistant, they'll help me set up lighting, tech sound, because we're often doing the ceremony in one place and moving into the reception space. We'll have the multiple sound setups and they'll tear down behind me as I move from the different spots at the event. And then they help me load out at the end of the night so we can get home as reasonable as possible. Not 3 a.m., maybe just 2:30 instead. So
yeah, especially going off our script a little bit, I know that people are definitely interested in what goes into the price tag associated with the DJ package, and no doubt travel expenses come with that, and it's not just the time spent from the first song to the last one, but all the time leading in and expenses with cars and whatnot. What might you add to that?
I think that's, again, completely accurate. This is a business, so we have to consider wear and tear on our automobile, gas consumption for these longer trips that you'll make sometimes. The way I see it, I'm there for the day. I'm not booking another gig after the wedding. I'm not booking another gig before the wedding. I'm there for the day. So the amount of time spent performing, to your point, that doesn't necessarily factor into how much I charge. When I put together different price points, it's about level of service and logistical difficulty. So, but yeah, when it comes to the business side of things, I got to pay our taxes. I do custom lighting setups, so I'm constantly ordering custom gobos for my clients as a function of decor and lighting.
And what are gobos for those that don't know?
Gobos, I should have brought one. I wish I had one. Next time. A gobo, really, think of a bat signal. That's the best way to describe it. It means goes before optics. It's a little custom piece of laser cut steel with the couple's names and the date and any other pieces of artwork on it. And it's really nice in big venues when I can throw it against the wall or on the ceiling or sometimes on the dance floor. Photographers like it. It gives them a little bit more options for how they're going to shoot photographs that day. So it's a kind of fun thing that I rolled out the past couple of years.
What goes through your mind leading up to the ceremony and the reception and then through the night?
Boy, I hope I rehearsed this enough. My big thing for performing ceremonies is because I've been playing guitar for so long, I really take pride in it, and I want to do my best work during a ceremony. But the pressure's on. You kind of start feeling a little bit of anxiety sleeping in or seeping in. So my big thing leading up to that is make sure I have everything handled. I have my sheet music taped down to the stand so that a gust of wind doesn't take it off. That was not a fun day. Yeah, leading up to the ceremony, I think that's the main event. Everybody's been traveling and dressing up and getting to the venue and getting organized for the marriage to take place. So, to me, that's the main event. And then after the ceremony, then I get to exhale a little bit more. Then we're start shifting into reception party mode. So
nice.
Yeah.
So I guess throughout the whole night, what is your favorite moment?
On any given night, I would definitely say probably after the grand entrance. I think at that point you got everybody where they want to be. All the guests at the reception have settled down for dinner. They've got some drinks and some appetizers, so they're nice and happy and receptive. And then the bridal party and the bride and groom, they have gotten all their photography done. They've gotten through the big push of the marriage and all the days leading up to it. So now it really is just a focus on let's party. This is where I get a little bit of breathing room because once the grand entrance is done, then I get to take down some of my equipment from the earlier part of the day and I can focus on putting together the best party possible for everybody at the reception.
Nice. Yeah, I know a lot of my friends have said like, oh, I would never DJ a wedding. That sounds crazy stressful. Like it only happens once. You got to be on cue.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, it's usually the happiest day in a lot of people's lives. So I find it super easy to get along with people there, and it's usually not so stressful. It's definitely in the stages leading up to it, I find, while you're collecting all the details and making sure everything is organized up to the moment where you have to be ready. But once you're in that moment, you have everything.
Yeah.
You know, the goal is to stress out beforehand so that in the moment you can relax.
Yeah. And I just accept the stress as part of the job. That's just how I function as a musician and a performer. I'm always going to have a little bit of nervousness and just the nerves and the stress. And I just remind myself that just means that I care. You know, the day I don't have that stress, then I'm going to really question my ability to do this job, because at that point I feel like, you know, maybe I'm not invested in the gig and I need to find something else to do. But to this day, I still get nervous and I still hope for the best show possible. And, you know, I want to show them a good time on the biggest day of their lives.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that, because you don't want to become a cookie cutter DJ and do the same thing over and over the rest of your life. You want to have, you know, the whole reason I got into this, because I love the adventure of it.
It's fun, and it preps you for so many other events too. MCing, you know, public speaking. It's different from just a strict performance at, you know, a pub or club. It's a little bit more involved, more curated, and a lot more fulfilling too.
So I guess following that trajectory, on to after the wedding. Do you have any advice for newlyweds?
Give yourself a break. You've been working your butt off to throw together a party. All my friends who get married, that's the number one thing I tell them is try and relax, try and plan some time for yourself. You've been putting together this major event to entertain and receive your guests on your wedding day. And no matter how simple the wedding is, it's going to feel stressful and like the biggest effort you've ever put into a party in your life. So give yourself a little bit of a break. Sit on a beach, put your feet up, drink some beers and mimosas, whatever you need, and give yourself some time to celebrate and decompress after putting together a big party.
Definitely a lot of planning that goes into the day of, and I think it's funny, I've seen coordinators plan even a 15-minute increment for the bride and groom to find some time alone in a shady spot after the ceremony before the reception.
That's a good coordinator.
Yeah.
That's a good coordinator. Yep. Because they're going to get mobbed the entire night. They won't be able to have a chance to eat dinner. So if you can find a separate dining room, that's a good move. Good coordinator.
Looking back on the many years that you've spent in this industry, how are you now different from where you started?
From where I started, yikes. Not as stressed. I feel if you give me a room full of people, I can play to them. I remember my first weddings, it was really hard transitioning from club and pub style DJ, playing to generally 20, 30-something age group people, to playing to little kids all the way up to grandma and grandpa. I had to learn a lot more music, and I've come a long way in that. Learning Latin music too, learning polkas, things that work at weddings. Even simple things like having a good song for a hora for a Jewish wedding, ready to rock and roll. I want to create highs and lows. That's my big thing with weddings. Is we have our ceremony, we have the prelude, where everybody's seating. The ceremony's taking place. You now kiss the bride. Big cheering, clapping, big noise. Walking back up the aisle, and then we chill out for cocktail hour. Get seated for dinner, grand entrance, big cheering, noise, dinner, and so forth. I wanted to keep it mentally engaging, even on a subconscious level.
Naturally, when you started, you were at a different price point than where you're at now.
Yep.
What would you say to brides who are looking at DJs from the lower tier to the higher tier?
I'm trying to think of the best way to put this without sounding like a snarky, grumpy wedding professional. I guess I've been to my friends' weddings where they have hired an agency DJ or somebody who's just starting out. And the big things that stick out to me is just the level of professionalism and how they carry themselves. I'll have somebody show up with black jeans and an old polo shirt. And one time I did have a wedding DJ with their white Apple earbud in the entire night because they wanted to listen to their college football game. It was just such a bad look. I didn't like it at all. quality of equipment. The same DJ, the speakers were clicking and popping. Not a big deal, that happens, but you need to be able to replace that. You can't just keep using that speaker going forward. And having backups, being able to speak to the crowd effectively, saying hi to everybody, and playing to the crowd. Sometimes I'll see a DJ who is really in that pub club mentality, still we're just throwing bangers, throwing really high tempo, modern music at the crowd all the time. Nothing wrong with that, but you're kind of alienating maybe the older crowd, those in their 40s, 50s, and beyond, where you could be playing instead some electro funk, you could be playing some Earth, Wind, and Fire. Even Bruno Mars is very cross-generational, so a younger DJ might just stick to that canned wedding set list, which is Billie Jean into the chicken dance, into Shout. Nothing wrong with that, but I feel like you can do a lot more, and if you know your music, that's going to help you a lot more.
Yeah, I definitely say from my first-hand experience playing pubs and clubs and playing weddings is that, the goal in a club setting is if you see people dancing, keep that same vibe going, do something to keep them comfortable. But at a wedding, it's a lot of, and now it's your turn. So I watch a lot of changeover. We'll have the whole bridal party out there enjoying themselves, and then we'll ease our way into something that the parents will like. So I guess one last thing to wrap it up. What inspires you as a wedding performer?
As a wedding performer, coming out of the pub and club circuit, doing a lot of weddings during the summertime instead, it was the fulfillment. It was really, really, really nice to learn specific pieces or arrange a certain guitar piece tailored specifically to the couple. I had a couple 2 years ago who wanted me to do a wedding-style classical version of Everlong by the Foo Fighters. And that was really nice to put together, because what's otherwise a real diesel-powered alternative grungy tune turning into a more elegant ceremony piece. That was a really nice challenge, and it was really sweet to see, because it was a surprise for the husband, to see the husband's face light up when he recognized what his wife had suggested or had chosen for the ceremony. So things like that. And then the recommendations always inspire me and make me happy too, because it means I'm doing something right, and that the way I approach this, paying attention to the clients, reading the room, playing to the crowd, playing to grandma and grandpa, down to the little kids, getting those recommendations, that's the highest praise I can get. And I wasn't necessarily getting that at late night bar shows, so this has been really fun. And it just appeals to my nature too, is wanting to move on to the bigger and better events possible, and that involves curating these big 200-300 person weddings. Sometimes it's really, really fun.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out.
Absolutely, it's a high honor to be here.